Greetings, humans, and happy holidays. This is the Black Pill, and today we're talking about the tragedy of Dorothy Spornak, that is, the Golden Girls, Heteronormativity, and the Hetero Script. Let's go! First of all, the Golden Girls is still the best thing on television, alright? And I will fight you on that. I'm a pacifist, and I will straight up do karate on that. Alright? Golden Girls, funniest thing on TV. Those ladies are savage. Absolutely savage. The wit. Absolutely inescapable, delicious wit. Dorothy, I can't pick a favorite. Like, I'm in love with Sophia Petrillo. I would date Sophia Petrillo so hard. Oh God, I miss them. I miss the Golden Girls very much. The Golden Girls. The story about three late middle-aged women looking down their senior years and Dorothy's mom, who is in the midst of her most senior years. She's 80 at the beginning, she's 85 at the end. And Dorothy Spornak, she's a strong, independent woman. She's not a girl boss. She's a substitute English teacher at a local high school. She lives more or less hand to mouth, but she's okay. And she has roommates. They all live together. That's what roommates do. She has problems. She has moral quandaries that she has to solve with good sense and empathy. She does not take shit from anyone. She is so strong. And I love her and I miss her. The tragedy is the last season, the last 2 episodes of the Golden Girls. Is it Blanche? Blanche Devereaux has someone coming into town. She doesn't want to see him. She sets Dorothy up on a date. They agree that they're going to pretend they fell in love on this date just to piss off Blanche. And the trouble is, they really do fall in love on the date. It does piss off Blanche. And they end up getting married and running away. Right? Dorothy leaves her elderly mother, her best friend in all the world, someone she's completely devoted to. In the last episode of The Golden Girls, she leaves her in this house with her 2 friends and runs off to a whole different state with this man she just met an episode ago. She's found true love. This is presented as the resolution of the series. And it sucks. It's awful. There's almost nothing in the 5 or 6 seasons of The Golden Girls to telegraph that ending. There's no setup. This is a payoff with no setup. It's nothing to do with the show. Barely anything to do. Dorothy's a bit of a punchline. She can't get dates. She's mannish, She's almost as tall as me and has a deep, manly voice, and so whenever she answers the phone, whoever's calling mistakes her for Mr. Spornak, She dates a little and is disappointed, usually gets hurt. But there's nothing in the show to suggest that her overarching goal, the thing that she wants and needs, is a man in her life, and that she wants and needs it so badly, she'd leave her mom to get it. Don't buy that? Okay. Let's check out the Star Wars prequel trilogy. I know you don't want to. I don't want to either. You're forcing me to do this by rejecting my Dorothy Spornak story. Princess Queen Amidala? In the beginning, she is a savvy politician. Whatever you think of the prequel movies, she's presented as a savvy politician. And then as a canny fighter, right? She has tricks up her sleeve, and she doesn't need to be rescued. She assists in her own defense in episode 1. In episode 2, when she and the two Jedi are chained to posts awaiting execution by animal, she got skills. She has skills, man. And she fights for her own life. She saves her own life. In episode 3, she's a simpering, love-sotted fool who literally dies because when Anakin goes to the dark side, when her man leaves her, she loses the will to live, just stops breathing, and no instrument of modern fantasy medicine can save her. The first 2 episodes, she's independent, strong, canny. In the last episode, they need to wrap it up with a tragic love story, and they do, completely destroying the character. Big Bang Theory is a story about some nerds getting slowly social skills. There it is. It's for misfit dudes. They're nerds and geeks. They don't fit in. They have their eccentricities. I suppose they're hilarious. I laughed at Big Bang Theory and felt guilty at laughing at Big Bang Theory. I think it's a bit insulting and degrading and stereotyping and whatever. And yeah, it's funny. Who is it punching at? Is it punching up? Is it a satire, or is it punching down? I'm not sure. The thing is, the Big Bang Theory ends with everybody getting married. Even Sheldon, even Amy. Amy is presented as an independent and slightly autistic neuroscientist. She does science. All of her life is about science and facts and data and inquiry. It's magnificent. She dates Sheldon Cooper because her mother insists that she goes on a date periodically. She does it to please mom with no expectation of any kind of real love interest. And it's a match made in heaven. Sheldon and Penny get along fine. It's a great friendship. I probably should have stopped there. But because of the American TV viewing public and the writers, it has to take this veer into romance and sexuality, which is not... It's a payoff for no setup. There's no reason to develop the characters in this fashion. And all of the people on the show eventually get married, and that's what happens on Friends, right? We have all these roommates, and they have this great non-sexual friendship, this platonic relationship. Across gender lines, they have their own problems and their quirks. They end up pairing off and getting married. Does every American TV show have to end in a wedding? Well, this is the hetero script. That's what we're talking about today, right? The heteronormative script and heteronormativity. Heteronormativity is what it sounds like. It is a set of cultural expectations and stereotypes. It's the idea that what happens to you? You are a kid, and you think about, if you're a boy, you think about marrying your mom, and if you're a girl, you think about marrying your dad. And then you grow up. You grow out of that fantasy, but you do marry someone of the so-called opposite sex. You get married and you have 2.2 children, you buy a house together, found your own nuclear family, and that's how it's done here. Your success in life is measured by your success in a relationship. So it's Valentine's Day, and we all send each other candy hearts in school, and when we're too young to think about sex and sexuality, we send them to everybody. But by high school, you're hoping to get that Valentine from that one very special person. We have prom. And prom is a dance where people are going to dance. We have to invite people to prom, and almost always it's boys inviting girls to prom, hoping they don't get rejected The prom invitations these days, well, before COVID, they were getting pretty out of hand. They were getting pretty elaborate. And the prom invitation seems to be very much practice for wedding proposals. The whole thing is set up to be very much like a wedding. This is heteronormativity. It is the hetero script. Can a person go to prom alone? Sure. Can two dudes or two chicks go to prom? Absolutely. Could two friends go to prom with no particular sexual interest or romantic commitment? Of course they could, but they would be the exception to the rule, and they'd really be bringing a knife to a gunfight. That is, the people who do it the old fashioned, traditional boys ask, girls say yes kind of way, they're bringing limousines and rented tuxedos and expensive dresses. Prom comes from promenade, to walk about, and the promenade is part of the. Oh shit! It got dark. Where was I? The hetero script, all of that stuff. The prom, right? Prom is short for promenade, and the promenade is part of the debutante's ball, the coming out party, where all of the 14 or 15 or 16-year-old girls, depending on the time and place, right? These are the women of the era who have flowered. They're ready for marriage. In fact, they need to be married off, lest they become elderly spinsters. And so in France and Germany and England, there'd be a big party in the middle of the village in the manor house. All the eligible girls would be walked around and shown off to the eligible bachelors of the time as marriage bait. That's what prom means. That's what promenade means. That's where it comes from. So this is absolutely this is absolutely heteronormativity, and this is the hetero script at work. The Golden Girls at times played the hetero script. These middle-aged women were women. They were women as understood by the time and place in sort of second wave feminism. They played their part. They were all heterosexual. They were more or less interested in love. Blanche was always looking for it. The other characters would pick it up if it came along. Um, Dorothy, in particular, had been unlucky in love. She'd married Stan, and Stan was kind of a scuzzy, scheming jerk who was always coming around looking to manipulate people for his own ends. Um, Sophia hated Stan. Dorothy more or less did. Sometimes wavered on the issue of whether to hate Stan or not. But she was by no means looking for love episode by episode. There was no story build up here. They also stood up for themselves, and as 55 to 65 ish women in Miami in 1988, that was kind of a special thing to do. They were breaking out of the boundaries. The boundaries they had were much closer to them than the boundaries that women would have just at this particular moment in time. But they were bit by bit slowly eroding those social boundaries. And so to flip back to the hetero script to finish the show, it just was not a it was just not a satisfying conclusion. When same-sex couples go to prom, they are eroding the hetero script. Yeah. When same-sex people marry, they're eroding the hetero script. When somebody stays single because they want to, they're eroding the hetero script. Couples who elect not to have children, right? More erosion. Marriage just isn't the institution it used to be. Americans like to be on a first name basis. Now, I've been in different parts of the world. I'm not going to say who's best. I'm not sure that that is a conversation that makes any sense. But I do like the American habit of being on a first name basis with everybody because you can skip past a lot of old fashioned cultural baggage, right? I don't have to find out. If I'm talking to a woman, I don't have to check her hands for wedding or engagement rings before I know whether to call her Miss or Mrs. And I don't have to check her social media to find out how progressive she is and whether I should use the term Ms., right? That solution to the second name basis, but you don't know if someone's married and you don't know whether you should ask that problem. I also don't have to find out if someone has some other signifier, like doctor, right? People address me as Mr. Diaz, and I am not Mr. Diaz. I am Dr. Diaz. Does that matter at the grocery store? Nah. Does that matter taking a sales call? Mm-mm. Does it matter in academia? Yeah. Yeah, it kind of does. Yeah, well, this is Big Red. And Big Red is helping with my video production today. Helping, like in air quotes. We don't have enough hands for air quotes. Hi, Big Red. Say hi to the people. The probably 6 people who watched this video about Dorothy Spornak in the hetero script. Yeah, okay. That's what's happening. Um, Female characters in movies and TV and literature, do they get to have character arcs that aren't about running off with a dude, finding the perfect man and their Prince Charming and all of that? Or are they tied forever to just this heteronormative script where the meaning of their life and their status is tied to whether or not they have a wedding ring? Do women get to go to college to get PhDs, or do they have to go to college to get MRS degrees? This is part of America's ongoing culture war, I suppose you could describe it that way. It's for sure part of our ongoing cultural evolution. We're a liberal society, and a liberal society provides people good information, trusts them to make good decisions. And a liberal society is out for the most freedoms for the most people, the best life for the most people. So, someone like me, I'm only really possible in a modern liberal civil society to be out about being autistic, right? To be able to be autistic in public. It's a special thing where people can understand why I'm the way that I am and try to make a certain amount of allowances. And gay and trans people and people of color in a white majority society um, really need the ability to have different kinds of script. The culture war, to the degree that's a real thing, is the reactionaries and the right wingers, especially the fascist arm of the right wing, just pushing back, trying to make everybody the same. And the joke, really, the tragedy of it is they're doing so in the name of freedom because they think that someone going to the prom alone is a loser rather than someone just making a decision that romance is not for them at this time in their life. That a man and a woman who are friends are somehow upsetting. Like, what's upsetting about that? Let them be friends. And so the script writer on a show and the social pressures that are the script writers on your lives just make it more complicated than it needs to be. And they're doing it in the name of freedom, which is the freedom for you to be like me, rather than the freedom for you to be yourself the way that you want. And that is the tragedy of Dorothy Spornak.